Thus, the story of the Atlantic Wall is not just one of military strategy or engineering feats. It is a tale of human endurance, strategic ingenuity, and the indomitable spirit of those who lived through the darkest times of the 20th century, echoing through history as a testament to the resilience and resolve of humanity. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, known for his strategic foresight, famously declared, "The war will be won or lost on the beaches. We'll have only one chance to stop the enemy, and that's while he's in the water, struggling to get ashore. Everything we have must be on the coast. The first 24 hours of the invasion will be decisive. For the Allies, as well as Germany, it will be the longest day." These words, spoken with the weight of impending conflict, set the stage for what would become one of the most significant military undertakings of World War II. Rommel's prediction underscored the importance of the Atlantic Wall, a colossal defensive structure that stretched along the western coast of Europe. The Atlantic Wall, or as the Germans called it, the Atlantic Wall, was not merely a line of defense, but a testament to German engineering prowess and strategic paranoia. From the cold fjords of Norway to the sun-drenched beaches of southern France, this wall was designed to be an impenetrable barrier against the anticipated Allied invasion. In the early 1940s, as Hitler's fears of an invasion grew, he issued Führer Directive No. 40 in 1942, commanding the construction of fortifications that would make the western coast of Europe a fortress. This directive set in motion an unprecedented mobilization of resources, manpower, and technology. More than 500,000 French workers were conscripted, their labor transforming the coastline into a landscape of concrete and steel. Photographs from this period, taken by Paul Virilio and published in his 1975 book, Bunker Archaeology, capture the essence of this massive undertaking. They show the Atlantic Wall in various stages of construction, from the skeletal frames of gun emplacements to the completed, imposing structures that dotted the coast. One notable image depicts a British soldier posing next to the recently captured German 380mm gun at the Tote Battery at Cap Gris-Nez, a testament to the scale and ambition of the fortifications. The wall's construction was an engineering marvel. It included colossal coastal guns, batteries, mortars, and artillery, all embedded within a network of bunkers, pillboxes, and tank traps. The Kriegsmarine, the German Navy, maintained its own coastal defense zones, adding another layer of complexity to the defense strategy. Meanwhile, the German army, with support from the Luftwaffe, oversaw the overall operation and manning of these defenses. Nazi propaganda seized upon the Atlantic Wall, often exaggerating its size and strength to boost morale and sow fear among the Allies. In truth, the wall was formidable, with thousands of troops stationed in its vast network, ready to repel any invasion attempt. The cultural and strategic context of this time was one of tension and anticipation. For the Allies, the Atlantic Wall represented a daunting challenge, a barrier that needed to be overcome to liberate Europe from Nazi control. For the Germans, it was their last line of defense, a symbol of their resolve to hold onto their conquests. As the war progressed, the Atlantic Wall would play a crucial role in the events leading up to D-Day. Its existence shaped military strategies, influenced the timing of the invasion, and underscored the human stories of those who lived in its shadow. The wall was more than concrete and steel. It was a manifestation of the era's geopolitical struggle, a fortress built on the fears and hopes of a continent at war. As the Atlantic Wall took shape, the strategic vision of Field Marshal Erwin Rommel became increasingly clear. His words echoed in the corridors of power and on the beaches where the fortifications were being erected. Rommel understood that the first encounter with the Allies would be critical, and he worked tirelessly to ensure that the Atlantic Wall would be ready for that moment. The construction phase of the Atlantic Wall was a spectacle of human effort and engineering. Photographs from this time, captured by Paul Virilio and later published in Bunker Archaeology, reveal the scale of the project. From the initial digging of trenches to the pouring of concrete, each step was meticulously documented. One can see workers, many of them French laborers, toiling under the watchful eyes of German soldiers. The images show the gradual transformation of the coastline from natural beauty to a military fortress, with bunkers rising like monoliths along the shore. The Atlantic Wall was not just about fortifications, it was about strategic depth. Rommel, known for his defensive strategies, insisted on a layered approach. Mines were laid in the water to impede landing craft, while tank traps and obstacles were placed on the beaches to slow down advancing troops. Behind these, lines of pillboxes, equipped with machine guns, offered overlapping fields of fire. Further inland, larger bunkers housed artillery, ready to shell the beaches from a distance. The cultural context of this time was one of fear, anticipation, and the grim determination of both the defenders and the anticipated invaders. For the German soldiers stationed along the wall, it was a daily life of vigilance and hardship. They lived in these bunkers, often under harsh conditions, their lives dictated by the rhythm of the tides and the constant threat of aerial bombardment from the Allies. In the lead-up to D-Day, the Atlantic Wall became a focal point of Allied intelligence and strategy. The Allies knew they had to find weaknesses in this formidable defense. Deception operations, like Operation Fortitude, were designed to mislead the Germans about the location and timing of the invasion. Meanwhile, the personal stories of those on both sides began to intertwine with the concrete and steel of the fortifications. Soldiers, engineers, and laborers left their marks on this wall, each with their own tales of survival, fear, and sometimes resistance, when D-Day finally arrived on June 6, 1944. The Atlantic Wall was put to the ultimate test. Despite its formidable defenses, Rommel's prediction came true. The war was indeed being won or lost on the beaches. The Allies managed to breach the wall through a combination of sheer force, strategic planning, and the element of surprise. The first 24 hours were indeed decisive, with both sides experiencing the longest day of their lives. After the war, the Atlantic Wall stood as a decaying monument to a bygone era. Paul Virilio's photographs capture this transition. Images of abandoned bunkers, rusting artillery, and crumbling defenses tell the story of defeat and the passage of time. One particularly poignant photo shows a British soldier posing next to the captured German 380mm gun at the Tote Battery, a symbol of the end of an era and the beginning of another. Today, the remnants of the Atlantic Wall serve as historical sites and tourist attractions, reminding visitors of the human cost of war and the resilience of those who lived through it. They are silent witnesses to a time when the fate of nations was decided on the shores of Normandy, where Rommel's words about the beaches being the decisive battleground rang true. This wall, once a symbol of Nazi might, now stands as a testament to the ingenuity of its builders and the determination of those who breached it, marking one of the most pivotal moments in modern history. The Atlantic Wall, as envisioned by Field Marshal Rommel, was not just a physical barrier, but a psychological one. It was designed to instill fear and doubt in the minds of the Allied planners, to make the very thought of an invasion seem daunting, if not impossible. However, Rommel's strategic genius lay not only in its construction, but in understanding the human elements of warfare. During the construction phase, captured in Paul Virilio's evocative photographs, one can see the layers of defense being built. The wall was more than just concrete, it was an intricate system of interconnected fortifications. At its core were the colossal coastal guns, like the 380mm gun at the Tote Battery, which had the range to reach across the Channel and strike at England itself. These guns were housed in massive bunkers, designed to withstand aerial bombardment. The cultural context of this time was one of urgency and desperation for the Germans. Nazi propaganda painted the Atlantic Wall as an invincible fortress. Yet the reality was more complex. The fortifications were indeed formidable, but they were also a product of the manpower crisis within Germany. Forced labor, including over 500,000 French workers, was employed in its construction. Their efforts shaping not just the landscape, but also their own fates in the shadow of war. Rommel's prediction about the beaches being the decisive battleground was not just about geography but also about timing. He knew that the Allies would need to strike with overwhelming force and surprise to break through. The Atlantic Wall was his answer to that challenge, a line of defense where every second counted, where the first 24 hours could indeed determine the course of the war. The personal stories of those involved in the Atlantic Wall's construction and defense are woven into its very fabric. German soldiers, many conscripted from across Europe, lived in these bunkers, their lives marked by the constant threat of attack. They were not just soldiers, they were sons, brothers, and fathers, caught in the machinery of war. Their stories are often untold, overshadowed by the grand narrative of military strategy, but they are as integral to the history of the wall as the concrete itself. When D-Day arrived, the Atlantic Wall faced its ultimate test. Despite the vast defensive network, the Allies managed to land on the beaches of Normandy. The fortifications, while impressive, could not withstand the combined might of naval bombardment, airborne troops, and the sheer determination of the infantry struggling ashore. Rommel's prediction was correct. The beaches were indeed where the war's fate hung in the balance. After the war, the Atlantic Wall transitioned from a symbol of Nazi might to a relic of history. Paul Virilio's Bunker Archaeology captures this transition beautifully. His photographs show the bunkers in various states of decay. Their once menacing presence now softened by time and nature. One image in particular stands out, a British soldier posing next to the captured German 380mm gun at the Tote Battery. This photograph encapsulates the end of an era, the moment when the Atlantic Wall was breached, and the tide of war began to turn. Today, these remnants serve as a poignant reminder of the Second World War's scale and impact. They are historical sites where one can walk the same beaches, touch the same concrete, and feel the weight of history. The Atlantic Wall, with its bunkers and gun emplacements, stands as a testament to human ingenuity, the harsh realities of conflict, and the resilience of those who lived through it. It is a monument not just to the war, but to the human spirit, both in its capacity for destruction and its will to overcome.